how did the reception of the first documentary influence, the making of the second one?
Oh, wow, that's a good question, Will. I would think that the first one was just an extension of a fuller story that we're looking to tell. And when the first one wrapped and the fullness of the story still remained, it dictated that we continue.
Mhm. Yeah.
No, I think y'all definitely were able to, bridge that gap. Like you said, told a fuller story, which was very much appreciated. But
Good.
in that process,
We just had more than one person always saying to us, I just wanted to know more.
Mhm.
And so we just felt like we had a duty and an obligation, not only to the 2.3 million people that are incarcerated in this country and their families, but also to the lovers of that film that were left really thirsty to know more and discover more about our story.
And not just for them to know more, but to know that there was more to tell. Because unfortunately, when I was able to get out through clemency in 2018, our fall partner, our nephew, was still incarcerated. And with that being said, we had a duty and an obligation to make sure that he experienced the same freedoms that we were experiencing. And because that was the quote unquote unfinished business for us, then it dictated or necessitated that the cameras had to continue rolling because there was more of the story that needed to be told.
got you. No, y'all did that because I ain't gonna hold you when I was watched the screener, and the first time when they said denied, I was mad for y'all. Like, what you mean
Right.
denied? Like after you had two people be like, yeah, do you want to come out of nowhere? Like, okay, no, like this is why this is important.
Right,
Yes, yes,
right.
yes. And had COVID not happened, we wouldn't have access to that kind of footage to be able to share.
That's right.
Right. Got you. And to tackle on that, like two quotes that were something that caught my eye and were very important were to be free is to free others and survivor's guilt to survivor's ambition. So I know you guys both like tackled that throughout, but would you kind of be able to speak to those two more individually?
Mhm.
Certainly. For me, it would be to be free is to free others. When I was as I shared in time one, um my prayer when I was locked up was that I would be able to be a voice for the voiceless when I came home. It was like not only did my transgressions place me there, but that maybe in the midst of this, God was using me for a greater reason. And so when I experienced enslavement firsthand, I knew I had to tell about this. I had a duty and an obligation to tell about this. And not only tell about it, but to go back and see what I can do to bring other people out of this system who I know were just like me. They just didn't get a fair chance, or they deserved another chance, or whatever sanctions were brought upon them were maybe more harsh and severe than one of their counterparts.
Mhm. Did you want me to tackle that one as well,
No,
William, or
you
go
get your
to the
other side.
survivor's guilt?
Yeah, that's yours.
Yes, sir.
Survivor's guilt, when I think about the term, I know more people, more broadly speaking, usually think about survivor's guilt when they think about people that have gone off to war. And usually what happens is that someone gets an opportunity, a fortunate opportunity to come back stateside or to come back home, but they leave behind comrades and other people who they know that are still in war-tattered territories that are also deserving of an opportunity to come home as well. Well, when you think about the state of Louisiana versus Robert Glenn Richardson, that is a contest that's happening. And it's that way for all of the people that are behind bars. So it connotes that a war is going on, that there's a battle, a contest that's happening. And when you think about that, these men are still left behind enemy lines. They're behind prison walls, serving out life sentences, some serving multiple life sentences. And crazy enough, in a lot of the cases, they're doing it for very minor crimes. And, that's a grave injustice. And a person that manages to overcome that, there's a certain sense of guilt that comes up on that person because they know that there are people with far lesser crimes. I was convicted of an armed robbery, but I know of people that have been convicted for small amounts of marijuana when they slinging marijuana on every other corner legally in practically every state in the United States.
Mhm.
So with that being said, I know that in order for me to have done anything about it, or if I was hopeful to do anything about it, I couldn't kind of waddle in my guilt, I had to transform that guilt into ambition, and hence use my voice, use my freedom, use my opportunities at liberty to do something about the people that have been that was continue to be encaged.
Got you. Um, and with those responses and watching the documentaries, what role do you see y'all stories, y'all documentary, further progressing the movement for prison reform? Or what would you like to see in that movement?
I think the ultimate goal, where we must go, is to the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. We have got to remove the exception clause from the 13th Amendment. Either we're going to be a free nation or we're going to be a nation of slavery, but we cannot be both. When you remove slavery, then things like working human beings for free, they go away. Things like charging citizens for telephone calls to their loved ones when everybody in the world is talking free, they go away. Charging human beings that make 4 cents an hour for their labor, charging them 34 cents to send an email, an electronic letter to their loved ones, all of that goes away. And so I think that is where we ultimately have to set our sights. And one thing my mom used to tell me, wherever your mind go, your behind follows.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
I like that. I like that. That's real. Would you guys be able to share a little bit more on the efforts, in bringing home your nephew?
Ooh.
You say share a little bit more of the efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Oh wow, this has really been a long going battle because it was maybe 2000 and maybe about 12 when I actually filed the paperwork for the benefit of a law that had been on the books ever since the 90s. That when a person had reached a particular age, that age being 45, and they had reached at least 20 years of incarceration, that a geriatric supervision of law would kick into place, and hence allowing that person an opportunity to go before a board to be screened to see whether or not they would, be able to be reintegrated back into society. Well, on and about the time that I thought the law was going to benefit me, after everything else I had attempted had failed, I knew that I had to at least start that process because no one else was doing it for us. So I started a process, and once I got out, I ended up ultimately getting out through the clemency process. But that me getting out through clemency did nothing to fix the situation for my nephew, nor those countless other people that were also relying on that law as a way to come back home to their family members. So when you have a institution that is built upon slave labor or cheap labor, and those kind of things, there's not necessarily an incentive in place for them to let go hundreds of people that are already incarcerated, that they're benefiting from. So that's a hell of a battle. It's the same battle that probably Harriet Tubman faced when she escaped the freedom and then decided that somebody else also needed the access to freedom as well. So for her to go back into slavery to unslave or to bring out somebody else, that's a hell of a challenge. And much of the same holds true when you have institutions or you have departments that are hell bent on caging people because they've built prisons and they've built bed space that needs to be filled in order for them to get paid. So there's already a built-in incentive to create situations that keep people incarcerated opposed to releasing those people.
Got you.
You
And
see, I didn't just marry him for his good looks. That boy is smart.